CAF President Patrice Motsepe of South Africa has scrapped it, saying that African Nations League will come in the stead of the CHAN.
I am scared for this African Nations League that is about to start because we might not achieve the aim of starting that tournament. So scrapping this CHAN, I feel for me, is not a good one.
Welcome back to EVO SPORTS, right here on your numero uno footballing dial, EVO SPORTS TV. I'm still here with my colleague, Chima Samuel. She's special. Yeah. I'm Albert Israel. So thank you for staying glued to this Sports TV. We are here to discuss one or two things about football. So, but before we go deep down, before we take a deep dive on it, let's discuss on CAF President Patrice Motsepe of South Africa. His thought about CHAN, African Nations Championship. I believe that CHAN is a tournament that is used to encourage home-based players, while foreign-based are in their various clubs abroad, playing their trade and doing their things. That tournament was actually set aside, right, to encourage home-based players, to give them a level of exposure going into their main national team. But now Patrice Motsepe has scrapped it, saying that the African Nations League will come in the stead of the CHAN. That one of the major factors was that the CHAN is a major loser of fund, that what it takes to organize CHAN and the tournaments in totality is not really generating what it's supposed to generate. So what say you about that?
Yes, I saw the news, and Patrice Motsepe, since coming in as a CAF president, he has really done well from my own perspective, because as a president of any organization, whenever you come in, you might not be able to do everything at a time, but there should be certain areas where you need to improve on, so that people will see that truly, since your regime started, you have improved on social area. So which he has tried in terms of bringing sponsorship and then increasing money. And because in everything in this life, you need money to function very, very well. But then again, I think this period are becoming the biggest test for Patrice Motsepe, because this is when he really needs to stand his ground on some certain decision. Firstly, CHAN has been a very good tournament for Africa, despite not going so well in terms of sponsorship. And for him to make that step that they have been losing money, I think I don't really like that step, because losing money means that you are not making any profit from the competition. But then again, in terms of football development, if CAF can be awarding grants to all African nations, to develop football, those money that you are awarding to those FAs, that some of them are squandering the money without developing it, why not invest some of those money into that CHAN? Because now CHAN is an avenue in which some of these home-based players get the opportunity to play for their national team, especially countries like Senegal, Nigeria, that has so many foreign-based players that do not trust really well on their own base players, because teams like South Africa now, it does not really affect them, because even most of their own base players are playing for their national team. But somehow, it's still a competition that you might not take your first star player who are playing for the Pirates Sunday. You might still decide to go with one or two players that you want to test in the Bafana team. So I feel like that CHAN has been a very good tournament, because it exposes a lot of players. It increases our league, the market value. And okay, for example, now the last CHAN was played and Senegal won it. This Senegalese coach, Papetia, was the one that won it for Senegal. Because he won that cup, Senegal feels like this guy is good enough to even handle the national team. Now he took Senegal to the final. He won the Nations Cup again too. Without that CHAN, nobody would have believed or would have known that Papetia was good enough. Now, Super Eagles, our national team went to the same competition. Erichel took them to that same competition, but he did not know most of these guys. As well, not knowing them, he tried to play some of these guys, but out of those players, Leonard Ngege now have signed for Leeds United. He played in that same competition. That increases market value, increases money. So barely everybody that came to the tournament from Remo Stars, about 8-9 players from Remo Stars, from other clubs like Nasarawa United, all of those. So that was the only opportunity that most of the fans hard to see some of these home-based players playing on their screen. And then it also makes you to know that, okay, the national team coach is watching me. If I do well here, I can be invited to the main national team. Aside from that, anytime they are playing international friendly matches, even some coaches are scared of playing their second team. Some coaches are scared of playing the local boys. You understand? So for Pat Motsepe to come out now and said, I want to scrap this thing, was this solely based on his own interpretation, or some people convince him, or sponsors? I don't know. But if we are talking about football development in Africa, definitely football development, that chant should be one of football development, because that chant have really done so well for African football, and it really. But then he has replaced it with African Nations League that will start from 2029, immediately after the next AFCON. So if you are starting CHAN, if you are scrapping CHAN and you are starting African Nations League, just like the Europeans are playing UEFA Nations League, definitely there's an issue. Because now 54 countries will be participating in that African Nations League, just like the European. But now you must check some certain things. If you are making decisions, the Europeans might make decisions. It's good to copy the Europeans. It's good to take some good things from them. But at the same time, you need to check your environment. You need to check the atmosphere, the resources, and the people you are involving in this decision, whether they are capable of giving you the same result like the European. Now in Europe, we have Schengen visas. That Schengen visas, if you have one Schengen visas, you can enter 21 other countries in Europe. But that's not the case in Africa. In Europe now, the border check are quite easier, especially for their European, than Africa. In Africa now, if you are playing tournament involving 54 countries, which they'll be going home and away. Now, have you checked the visa protocols, the visa process? We've had situations where Remo Stars could not secure visas to go and play Sundowns on time. That is Club Champions League. We've had issues where FC Bakani also, the last CAF Champions League qualifying matches before the group stage, before they played the group stage, they had issues of going to, I think, Libya or thereabout to go and play their return leg game. So if we have been having this kind of issues, now it's coming to national team. These countries now, how will they be applying for visas under a short period of time? Because this tournament always take place during the break. During the break, international break is about 3 to 4 days. Are you going to process the visa before they come to the national team? How are you going to do that? Now, if they take their visas, some countries have low quality stadiums that can host well organized international matches. Our stars, like these big countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Cameroon, Senegal, Morocco, there are some other small countries, all these Sao Tome, all these, I can't even remember their names again. Can they host these are big boys in their country with all these old things that we are talking about? Look at the issue of Senegalese players that were stranded in the train station, that were mobbed by fans. If they have injured one or two players in that Senegalese team, what would have happened? So I am scared for this African Nations League that is about to start, because we might not achieve the aim of starting that tournament. So scrapping this chance, I feel for me, is not a good one. If you want to develop African football, if you are looking for a tournament to spend money on, if you are sending money to the FAs of every nation to develop football, if it is to cut the money up and invest the money in this chance, do it, because that money you are sending to them is still for development of local football in their country, which some of them might not even make use of the money very, very well. So pump it into the chance. Let us restart the chance again, but getting more sponsors to organize it well. And I believe from there we can be selling players to even European clubs and making money, because we allowed our first star player to rest.
The CHAN and the UEFA Nations League. Don't forget, every leadership has its own peculiarities. And I think Patrick Motsepe want to do something he will be remembered for. And don't forget, no matter what you want to try in life, there must be upheavals, ups and downs. And you get even sometimes, even we can see what happened in Morocco. There was even some glitches from the refereeing, from misconduct of play and all of that. Even at this level of Moroccan football development, we saw a lot of glitches. I think Patrick Motsepe want to introduce something so that when he leaves the position as the CAF president, his successor can actually grow on it. But let's look at the CHAN, African Championship, and African Nations League. I'm trying to see it as a package, same package that is being relabeled. Now, because in Europe, the European Nations League, when they are up for European Nations League, they suspend all the leagues in Europe for each countries to go to their nations and represent their nation. So what is the possibility of players playing abroad, leaving their teams abroad to come and represent their nations in the African Nations League. That is to say, it's the same home-based player playing their trade here, or the ones that are perhaps not playing in the top tiers.
They are playing the tournament within the same time for the international break.
Okay, for the national break. Okay, yes. Now they are playing it for the national break, but there are still a lot of one or two issues in that. If they are playing it in the time of international break, and don't forget, between the UEFA Nations League, between Nations Cup and the UEFA Nations League is less than a year. So many clubs that are playing teams that are playing the 5 top teams, clubs playing the 5 top teams in the world may not want to give out their players because of injuries, because they will see the African Nations League as not fundamentally a 5-star kind of a league. They prefer the nation AFCON. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Don't you think at the end of the day it will affect? Because I also think that will also increase the cap of so many players in Africa. Are you getting it? But the way I'm having issues is, will European players leave their players to come and represent their African nations in the African Nations League? Because ideally, the CHAN was ideally for home-based players. Now, there's another frailties again I'm looking, or another setback again I'm looking. That African Nations League, a lot of countries, a lot of nations in Africa will not have, or let me not say a lot, few nations in Africa that the players playing their trade in their home soil was actually privileged to play in that CHAN may not be privileged to play in the African Nations League, because some of them playing maybe in Africa, some playing in South Africa, maybe in some part of Africa, they may come for that African Nations League. Thereby, it may actually stop players playing in their soil from featuring, or you understand, playing in the first team of the. So, what say you about this? Is it a nice development, or is it going to be something that they really need time to actually ponder and think about? And another thing again, Patrick Motsepe, you spoke about Patrick Motsepe. If he actually sat down with his committee and looked at this African Nations League, considering the financial power of several African nations in Africa, 54 countries here in Africa, so may not have the power. Are you getting it? So what say you about it? Is it a plus or a minus at this level?
That's what I said before, and I said it that I do not buy that idea of scrapping that tournament, even though the tournament is not lucrative. If you are developing something to achieve something, you might not look at the possibility of making profit at that moment, because that possibility of making profit at that moment is what has kept Nigerian football the level where we are today now. And every good businessman most time does not look at the instant profit. Sometimes they look at the long time profit that they make. So if CAF is truly after the development of football in Africa, scrapping that tournament, that is one of the, now if you watch now, when this tournament has been played, the foreign based players will be like, you made mention of something now, that the European clubs might not want to release play, all of those things. Yes, it's an international break truly, but sometimes, to be honest with you, these European clubs might not even want to release player, because even if they have international break, most times if Nigeria is playing Jamaica or Uganda in friendly matches, if you invite first-class players, they will give you excuses. They will tell you that they are injured, or you just hear one way or the other that the first team players are not available to come and play the match. By the end of the day, you see that the next time they are resuming their league, maybe after 5 days or 1 week, the players are back to their base playing. Because one, if you check the flight, the timing to travel from Europe to Africa to come, hours, like if you check the medication, the medical aspect of it, psychological aspect of it, infrastructure aspect of it, everything, some of them are scared of their career, because coming down to play unnecessary game, I fly down to this place, who will pay for the flight ticket? You pay for the flight ticket, I come down here, after 1 day, 1 night, I sleep over, the next 2 days, I'm going to play match again, and fly back for inconsequential matches that even if we win the cup, what does it really give to us? So sometimes some of the big boys might still avoid it, but then the competition will not really give us what we want. But if it has remained with that chance, everybody knows that this is home-based Eagles. This is home-based national team. And that home-based national team, in the league, they'll be giving their best, because they want to represent. That is one of the advantage they have in representing national team. So calling them to the camp, to come and camp that you are playing for, you want to play for a national team, you want to play for Nigeria, you want to play for Senegal, Bafana, even if the main players are not there, but it still gives some kind of level of prestige, that you are wearing that color of the jersey, playing. Meanwhile, you are playing for your local team, from there, you can play very well. The other big boys will be watching, the other agent, scouts will be watching, and then from there, the main coach of the national team, you can from there see players that can fit in into the national team. So as you have said now, that is just the main thing, because as it stands like this, it's a very big disadvantage. But some people are already accusing Patrick Motsepe that he did not sit down with the committee, he did not find out a lot before he start taking this decision. But Patrick Motsepe so far, whether he does this or not, he has been a very good president so far. I don't know about tomorrow, but for now, I'm still in line with him because he have done something special. Firstly, Motsepe does not collect salary as a CAF president. In fact, he uses his own personal money to sponsor some activities. But now, seeing Infantino always with him as FIFA president, I feel like there's some decisions.
They have a bond. They have a bond.
I feel like there's some decisions that have been influenced by Infantino. And then Motsepe also said he also made one statement that Morocco, most times when they are looking for team to host tournament, most teams, they open those things for like 6 months for teams to apply. But none of them always come up with the application. But Morocco have come to the rescue for Africa in terms of hosting tournament emergency, which I know that is true. But then that does not guarantee you to dance to the tune of Morocco. Is it that finance is winning or football is winning? Because if you say finance, Morocco is there to always rescue you from so many things. Then if they are hosting it, does that make you to fall to the tune of Morocco or to agree on anything Morocco is doing? No. So at this turning point, Africa have gone so low in terms of football. We are trying to revive our football back, and Patrick Motsepe is one of the people that have seen. No, but everybody has their own flaws. Everybody have one or two negative sides, but so far I have seen so much positivity. At least for the very first time in Africa, I'm seeing a big man, a well-known somebody, businessman who understands football, who owns a club, coming in as a CAF president, and then not putting money first. Unlike other presidents we've had before, they come in, they squander money, they don't know much about football, they don't even do much. But this guy, he has been running football club before coming to CAF, so he understands the business of football. Since he came in, there have been a lot of changes. This last AFCON now, $10 million have been on it to compare to last previous one. Even CAF Champions League, clubs are losing out, getting $50,000, $100,000, $500,000. So it has been so good because Africa need money, and then he has brought in so many sponsors. People are beginning to trust him now. People are beginning to trust CAF, trust Africa to bring in business to come and support the AFCON. Why? Because of Patrick Motsepe. Because if you have a reputable person, somebody who is not controlled by money in an office, it's easy for sponsors to come in and say, I drop 1 billion here to do it. Because why? You know that person will make use of that money well. But when you have an hungry man on seat, if you bring any evil, sponsors will be scared to come because they know that money will not be used for the proper thing. So, but at this stage, now, Patrick Motsepe is highly tested and he does not need to fail because the world is watching. So far, the way he has gone, the level he has gone now, he's having some percentages of good on his name. So he should not spoil it by dancing to the tune of the European. The Europeans already now, the standard is there already. So if we must copy the European, we should copy them gradually by gradually, not by taking everything, because everything is there is good, but we cannot undo the whole pressure. If they are playing UEFA Nations League, Ronaldo, Portugal won the last one in Europe. If you see from Portugal to England, it's not far by road. From Portugal to from Portugal to Spain, from Spain to Denmark. All this once they want to go and play, they're already playing their club side in the country there already. If they want to go and play the match there, they just meet in one hotel or they even meet in the camp there. So it's not far, and their national team is well organized. That everything is put in check. That before the match, before the day, as they are finishing their last match, maybe on Saturday, the country is already providing all the necessary documents that will fly them to the venue where they are playing the matches. And immediately after the matches, they are flying back to their club side directly. But in Africa here now, you hear that somebody fly from Turkey or from Germany to come and play match. He landed maybe 1 hour before the match. So after the match, you hear that maybe the flight landed at the transit in Ethiopia. The flight could not fly again. They need to change oil in the they need to change oil in the flight before before you know, those players will be having issues in their club side. So Patrick Motsepe need to have a rethink of it. What will happen to those local players that have seen that opportunity as a way of getting chance to play for the national team?
Okay, thank you. Let's x-ray something. 54 countries
we participate
in Africa. Now, don't forget, in AFCON, every team that qualified for AFCON have a particular amount that goes into their coffers through CAF.
Yes.
As you progress, there's a particular amount of money. Now, the African Nations League is a league that is going to involve the 54 countries of Africa. Now, let's take a deep dive into this analogy. Now, not all African countries have the financial power and capacity. We have so many island countries. We have people like Comoros Island, we have Eritrea, we have Seychelles, Sao Tome and Principe, Djibouti. We have so many countries in Africa that perhaps, with no disrespect to them, they don't have the financial power like some other countries, maybe even stadium and all of that. Even geographical location to, you understand, to move and other things. Now, we're looking at another aspect again is organizing the African Nations League. If you give the top countries in Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, Cameroon, if they host one after the other, you need to take this hosting to this country to make them understand that, yes, they are, you understand, they are part of the African continent. Yes, home and away, because if you give South Africa today, give Nigeria tomorrow, give Morocco the next one, now go back to South Africa, it will seem as if other countries as well. The 54 country war. Yes. So now I think before Patrick Motsepe took this gallant stride, these steps, he might have checked exclusively everything.
According to the news, they said they'll be giving each team $1 million per year annually now to support in football development before this. So the $1 million, I don't know.
You see, this $1 million, you still hear a foul cry. In Africa, we did. I will know as all this is a big football development. But to me, it's a very nice one. Developing African football and letting all teams in Africa to partake in the footballing culture and religion in Africa. But another thing again that is noteworthy of, right, is the organization. Are you getting it? The organization. Because Patrick Motsepe said why he's scrapping out the CHAN is owing to the fact that it's like a lose-lose thing. Yes. Maybe there are no sponsorship, the money that people are not interested in CHAN because of the home base. Yes. that you understand. There are no players that actually sell the CHAN and all of that. So, but even there are no players that sell the CHAN, and at the end of the day, looking at African Nations League, in which the league in Europe might have ended, that everybody will come to incorporate. But I don't still see the influx of foreign-based players as well. Perhaps not the first edition, the influx of the foreign-based players coming to play, because if you look in between, the time the CHAN will take place involving the 54 countries of Africa, they may be on break. And that break now, because of the compressed nature of the league and football throughout the world, the Champions League and all of that, those players don't have more than 3 weeks or a month to stay back at home. Are you getting it? So coming to the African Nations League, participate with your country, and going to join for preseason again, it may make a player look very, very tiresome, in which most top 5 leagues in the world, let me be specific about that, they may not allow their first team players or their players to come. At least, I still think that one too is a defect as well. But it's a gallant one, it's a nice one. What Patrick Motsepe is doing in African football, to me as well, I subscribe to that. So we are looking forward.
And he has moved Nations Cup to 4 years.
To 4 years. That is where we are even. That is where we are heading to. You know, one of the person that have come in between this line is the South African coach Hugo Bros. Are you getting it? Looking at the 4 years longevity. Now, perhaps the 4 years of Nations Cup was a concept you already thought of, the African Nations League, before he extended. You understand? Maybe you see. I think the concept of the African Nations League did not just started now. He might have sat down over time with some committee, take a deep dive into it, x-ray it, scan it, and see if the African Nations League was going to be a good one outside CHAN. Then they extend the year of the Nations Cup so that African Nations League can come in between, which will actually bring a lot of exclusive participation of all the African teams. So the AFCON for 4 years, do you subscribe to that?
Somehow, yes. Why I subscribe to that 4 years is because of our players, because of African players. Because as it stands like this, the African players, or Africa as a nation, somehow we are still below Europe. We are below the European. So if you are below a standard, I think you need to work with the standard that is ahead of you somehow. In terms of these 2 years now, some European club side, if they want to sign some African stars, they feel like when we sign you, you'll be leaving for Nations Cup in the next 2 years. After 2 years again, you're leaving for Nations Cup within those periods. And those times are always a very, very dangerous period of time. So pushing it to 4 years now, we enable some players, when clubs are signing African players, there will not be so much fear factor about players coming to leaving their clubs. In fact, some players say might not even play up to 4 years in their present club before coming to the African Cup of Nations. So, and then again, there are another advantage I'm seeing in that is that any country that will be hosting, it will give them opportunity to prepare very, very well, to prepare well in terms of infrastructure, in terms of money, in terms of sponsor, in terms of adverts, in terms of television, so a lot of things to give you time. But that 2 years has been so sudden that sometimes we don't get it right in Africa because it's like 2 years. So, but it's going to start after the 2028 Nations Cup, which will be hosted by I think Kenya and one other about 3 countries. I think Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania or thereabout will be hosting that one as well. So after that one, they are going to now play in 2029. So after the 2029 now, they will start playing it for 4 years. So I feel like the 4 years is okay, just that it will affect some players the longer. But in Europe too, they play for 4 years tournament so that people will have more time to concentrate on their club football. Then they have replaced that 2 years now with this African Nations League that will be played every year now at every international break. So there will always be matches for African players at every international break with that Nations League. But the main AFCON, where people will come together for a period of 1 month, will now become 4 years. So in terms of sponsors, infrastructure, getting it right, I feel like the 4 years is okay for Africa.
Okay, it's a nice one, but I think it's a mixed feelings as well, because if you look at some ex-international like the legendary Osam Hassan, the coach of Egypt, appeared in 7 Nations Cup. Legendary Gobert Song, I think about 7 Nations Cup or so, AFCON. So many players like that, 6, 7 Nations Cup. So if the Nations Cup now is being extended, the AFCON is being extended to 4 years. So I think before any player will have to play for AFCON, looking at 8 plus 8 is 16. You understand? That is 16 years. Now, you now ask at what age this player will be making his debut in the AFCON and all of that. So, 18, okay.
And if your country is qualifying
on that. So, that is one of the disadvantages. But having said that, though, the 4 years.
Because if you watch the South Americans, it's 4 years. Europeans, 4 years. World Cup, 4 years. So the 4 years that I feel it's okay, because if Africa that don't even have enough infrastructure and enough facilities to hold, if they are hosting 2 years, they are getting so many things wrong. But that 4 years will prepare them so well. And then that 4 years, even if they want to host it at any given time, even if it is going to interrupt European calendar in terms of club football, at least European clubs can sacrifice another. Okay, this is just once in 4 years. So after this one again now, it's going to be next 4 years again, not 2 years where you have to be fighting with players every given time.
All right. Thank you. Good thought from you there. So, Patrice Motsepe is a good one from you. Seeing your work, you're trying your best, trying to put Africa in the world map in terms of football. It's a blessing having somebody like you. I just hope and believe your successor will be that creative, innovative, so that...
Don't talk of successor now. He has not finished his tenure.
No, he must have a successor sometime.
Even they are saying he should continue. Okay, so for now, there's no successor. So he should just continue.
Chima, let me tell you something. Do you know somebody will be in a position for 8 years? In 4 years before his expiration of his day, a successor may be brewing, right? That successor will come. At the end of that successor, we have so many flaws. Discontinuity. So I'm saying it now in advance that his successor should follow suit and even do much more better.
Let us see how successful the new innovation.
It has started. It has started. Once it starts, right? Because when something starts, it will have its setbacks and its flaws. What remains is for them, the organizing committee, to start and checkmate where they have actually made a mistake and keep going on it. There is no perfection for even in the beginning. So we appreciate you all, our fans in Africa and throughout the world. We appeal with you to subscribe to EVO Sports TV on YouTube at EVO Sports TV, on Facebook, EVO Sports 247, and on TikTok at EVO Sports TV. I am Albert Israel. Right there with me is Chima Samuel. Thanks.
Special.